Hi guys, Kristin here. To those of you who end up watching the replay, hello and welcome. I'm Kristin Jekalek, and I teach people how to heal their bodies from very severe chronic fatigue using the healing mindset. I'm here doing this because I have been able to heal myself from severe chronic fatigue 3 times now. And every time I needed different doctors and practitioners and treatments and supplements to heal, completely different every time. The one thing that was consistent, the one thing that got me healing faster and faster each time was the mindset I used to approach healing. And that's what I teach you guys on this channel. If you want to learn more about that, I recommend going back to my earlier videos and taking a look through. I have close to 100 videos up now. So there's a ton of free content out there for you. Hi, Jim. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Jim. Those are kind words. And you're in England. All right, so important note. My lives through the rest of July are scheduled for the evenings in the East Coast time of the US. And I've been hearing from people in England that that's too late for them. So starting in August, I'm going to be scheduling some earlier times, maybe probably around like noon or early afternoon during the week, maybe some weekend times in August, so that people in the UK have a chance to hop on live so they're not all asleep. Hi, Danny. Oh, I got 2 people from the UK today. That's great. Love to hear that. Oh, thank you. So this is a live Q&A, guys. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk through, feel free to drop it in the chat here and I will answer it live, and hopefully we can get some back and forth and some dialogue going on. I really love doing these lives because I love how it enables us to kind of talk back and forth in real time. It's the closest thing we have to like sitting down in an actual group setting in person while being so far apart. All right, so how long have I had it? So here's the thing. I don't have severe chronic fatigue anymore. I don't have fatigue anymore, period. Rough timelines though, back in 2010, actually July 2010, 9 years ago, I was 25 and I thought the world was my oyster. I was working as a software consultant. I had a great job. I was getting promoted really fast. I was in CrossFit. I got really big into nutrition. And, like I had a boyfriend and a social life, and like everything seemed like it was going just fine until I started having these really weird health symptoms. And within 6 months, I went from this vibrant, active 25-year-old to feeling like I was an 80-year-old woman trapped in a 25-year-old's body because I was sleeping 14 hours a day. I could barely walk down the block, let alone walk to work. High level symptoms. I had very severe brain fog, very severe physical fatigue. And it was at the point where I was about to have to leave work for the first time. And long story short, it took me about 2 years to get my life back after that first health crash. Actually, I guess about 2.5 years from initially getting sick to when I was healed well enough to feel like I had my life back. All right. I went from like mostly housebound, had to leave my job, unable to work for a couple of years, to healed to the point where I was able to go back to work full time in an office, start working out again, have a social life, make plans, all that great stuff. I was well for 1 year. I really had 1 year in there where my life was back and things were great. And then I relapsed. I had a massive crash. And that crash lasted for, 7 months. And then got better. And then I crashed again. And then I think that one took about 5 months to heal from. So all in all, I was severely ill, unable to work, mostly housebound for about like 3.5 years of my life total over I would say, 7-year span of my life, 6-7-year span of my life as a 20-something. Let's see, Jim Rosardi, you're a researcher on this subject. You've noticed that the majority of people who have had this condition are indeed professional. You are in the SEALs as a medic. When you say professional, what do you mean by professional? Because there are definitely a lot of people with this illness who are children, teenagers, people who develop it while they're still in college, even. So I'm wondering what you mean by that, so we can talk about it more. Oops, sorry, I just hit my mic. Yeah, so that's a really, really, really rough timeline of how long I've been dealing with this, and I would say it's been about 2.5 years since I last healed. Or some people don't like it when I say healed. Some people like to say I'm in remission because it could come back at any time, which is technically true. You can't predict the future, but pretty sure I've got this on lockdown at this point. So yeah, it's been about 2.5 years since I've had to live with any of this. It's been a really solid 2.5 years of like going back to work, rebuilding my savings, rebuilding my social community around me, getting back into working out, and planning my life out, which has been amazing. And a big part of what I need to do to feel like a healthy, whole human being is to show other people, hey, that it's possible to get better from these things that doctors tell you have no cure and you have to live with for the rest of your life. Okay. People told me that. Multiple doctors told me that. And I didn't accept that answer. I searched and I hunted for the people and the treatments that I needed to heal, and I found them. And there were many of them every time. It's a wild journey. Adults as in professionals, medics, teachers. Yes, Jim, you're talking about being taught to push and push and push and push. So was I, okay? I didn't know how to slow down. I didn't know how to do anything halfway. Like if I was doing something, I was going all in and I was not stopping until I felt like I was where I should be. And that definitely made my health issues worse, much worse in the beginning, because I continued to push instead of resting in those early days that are so crucial. Hi, DJ65. All right, so Jim, so I want to address what you just said here. You said it's nearly impossible to pace, and it's not. It's really, really hard if you have the wrong mindset, okay? And that's where the healing mindset really comes into play. Because what it does is it calls on our inner motivations for pacing and for slowing down. The right mindset helps us see our priorities, helps us see like, okay, I know how I used to do things. And I know how I do things now. And I know the results that those things got me in the past, but I see the results they got me now. The healing mindset gets you focused on acting in ways that benefit you today and will benefit you tomorrow while you're healing. Because the really hard thing, I think oh, there was just lightning outside. Can you hear that? Thunder? A really big thing about the healing mindset is acceptance. And people struggle with the concept of acceptance because they hear acceptance and they think that, oh, I just have to put up with things. They think that accepting means thinking that things will never change and you stop trying to change things. And that's not the case here. Acceptance in the healing mindset is about accepting the facts of life, okay? And it's also about being realistic about what we have control over and what we don't, and what we can change and what we can't. And it's about focusing all of our energies on accepting reality and then finding the path forward that gets us where we want to go. So I really, I think a big example of this, something that was so hard for me to accept. I mean, I was still going to the gym, going to classes at CrossFit when I couldn't get through a workout. Like I started off like, loving CrossFit, like going hard for a whole hour, seeing big gains in my fitness. And slowly over time, those initial 6 months, the amount of time I could work out decreased and decreased. I could only work out for half of an hour long workout and I still went. I could only work out for 20 minutes and I still went. I could only do the warm up and I would still go to the gym and show up and do that warm up until I pushed myself into a crash. Okay. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And it was the worst thing I did for myself. I didn't stop going to the gym until I couldn't even get through the warm up. That day, I still remember it so vividly. That day, I couldn't even get through the warm up. I was mad at myself. Okay. That wasn't the healing mindset. I was not in the healing mindset yet. I was mad at myself. I was angry. I wanted to punish myself. I felt embarrassed for not being able to work out for more than a couple minutes. Okay. Healing mindset example. You accept, let's see, if I could go back and teach 25-year-old Kristin a lesson, I would try to teach her. The reality is, Kristin, you are severely ill and the doctors don't know what's wrong with you. The reality is you're sleeping 14 hours a day. And the reality is you need to stop going to the gym. Your body is telling you to rest and sleep and to do nothing. And as much as you hate that, as much as you identify as someone who pushes hard and works out and does all these things, the fact is, Kristin, these workouts are hurting you. And the sooner you accept that, the easier it's going to be to rest instead of pushing yourself through another 5-minute workout. Because if I had learned that lesson earlier on and I had started to rest and heal, I might not have gotten as sick as I did. And I got pretty sick, pretty sick. So that's an example of how the healing mindset helps you accept reality and can help you start behaving in ways that are beneficial to your health now and your goals now. Because another big thing for me that was really hard was letting go of these fitness goals I had and these career goals that I had. I hung on to those as if they were more important than my health, which of course they aren't. They absolutely are not. And once I accepted that my health goals have to take priority over everything else in my life, behaving in ways that got me healthy became a lot simpler and easier to do. It's not impossible. It's not hard, Jim, but it is not impossible to develop that mindset and start doing those things that you need to heal. There's a big thunderstorm happening outside. I do not come from a medical background. I'm not a psychologist. I am just someone who has been very humbled by very severe chronic fatigue and a list of other health issues. And this type of, people refer to it as like Zen, Buddhist, New Age, whatever. But this is the mindset that helped me heal all 3 times. I'll state it again. I have no medical background. I am not a psychologist. I have no medical training whatsoever. Okay. So do not take this as medical advice, guys. I'm just here talking about what worked for me and encouraging you to work hard at finding what works for you. All right. Little Timmy has a Tommy. All right. You said you're losing weight from all the sleep. You don't know what to do. How much are you sleeping, little Timmy? All right. And Jim, you're constantly having the 3rd crash solid in 2 years. No recovery time or anything. Oh. Thanks, Jim. I think it does matter, and that's why I try to share it the best way that I can. It's sometimes hard to put into words what worked for me in a way that I feel like it can help you guys in a way that makes sense to you, that resonates. Let's see. Okay. All right, Danny, you were diagnosed in 2017. What were you diagnosed with? Were you diagnosed with like ME/CFS or something else? DJ65, you felt embarrassed and ashamed that you couldn't do what you used to do. You used to keep busy at work and home, and then everything came to a complete halt. Yeah, that is what happens to all of us. And it's funny, I actually prepared some things about shame to talk about tonight if there weren't too many questions going on. So if I have time to get to that tonight, I will. If I don't, then it'll be on the docket for next week, talking about shame and how it's keeping us ill. All right, little Tim, you're sleeping 13 hours a day. Yeah, that is a lot. There's definitely something really, really wrong that's going on. I want to encourage you to start looking for a doctor who can help you. I don't know if you've seen any doctors or not. If you have, it sounds like you don't have much hope in what they're doing for you. And I know it's hard, and we don't have the energy, and we don't have the time, and we don't have the money. But continuing to hunt for a doctor who's good is completely worth the energy. I went through over a dozen doctors and like health practitioners over the years. It took me a half dozen different doctors before I found someone who could help me heal the first time. And the first time I began to heal was not because of anyone who's a licensed medical professional. I worked with a health coach who has been through what we've all been through. And she learned how to heal herself. And she helped me a lot. She planted the seed of the healing mindset in me, which helped. Unfortunately, the specific treatments she put me through weren't right for me. They were right for her and they helped her heal, but like the supplements she put me on didn't help me. But the healing mindset really, really did. And it took me, a year and a half of being severely ill before I found her. All right. I was just going to doctors and working with people and not getting better for like a year and a half until I found her. And even after her, even though she helped kick off my healing journey, she wasn't the only person or thing I needed to get better that time. It still took a lot more than just that. So, yeah, highly recommend continuing to hunt for a doctor, Timmy. And I have a video on what a good doctor looks like. You can either just search through my videos for the doctor one, or real high level. A great doctor is someone who listens to you and believes you. Okay, they're not belittling you. They're not trying to explain away your physical symptoms as a psychological disorder. Real basic stuff here, but they're hard to find. And they're doctors who give you information on what they think is going on or are honest about not knowing. Okay, those are the two big ones when you're looking for a doctor who you may want to work with and who may actually be able to help you. Okay, so Danny, you have ME and fibromyalgia. Yeah, super common for those things to be paired together. So you were diagnosed 2 years ago and you're still living with it 2 years ago, or since for the past 2 years. I'm curious, Danny, what's it been like over the past 2 years? Did you just have like a quick decline and then it's been like pretty solid, or has it just been continuously down, or have you had ups and downs? What has that journey looked like for you so far? Yeah. Yeah, Jim, you had to see a dozen doctors before they believed that ME existed. Oh man. It's not just an English thing. I mean, it's in the UK, it's in America, it's like this. In Australia, it's like this. It's incredibly hard to be taken seriously when you have this set of symptoms. It's very hard to find someone who's willing to believe you enough to diagnose you. And even when we say diagnose, like there is no marker for ME/CFS or fibromyalgia. They're just collections of symptoms. And unfortunately, any collection of symptoms can be causal things. So even though it feels like an answer, a diagnosis of something like ME or fibromyalgia is really the medical community going like, we'll just call it this because you have similar poorly misunderstood or poorly understood symptoms as other people. So we'll just call it the same thing. And yeah, lots of people could be lumped under those diagnoses with different root causes, and therefore they would need vastly different treatments to get better. So yeah, it's I hope I'm not I'm not depressing anybody with that information, but it's one of those acceptance things where like getting that diagnosis feels like relief initially, but then you start looking into it and you realize that it doesn't mean much, unfortunately, in terms of a treatment plan. Yes, everybody should keep up the fight and the hunt for good doctors. I'm super, super lucky to have found one. I live in Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, and I've been super lucky to find a really great doctor who lives out in the suburbs. It does take me like 45 minutes to an hour to go visit him each way. And he has very limited hours for patients. He only sees patients Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays now. But as hard as it is to get out there, as much of a pain as it is to schedule things with him, and even as expensive as he is, I completely owe my current state of health to him. You know, like maybe I shouldn't say completely, but when I found him and the first time I met with him, it was very clear to me that he was someone who listened, who believed, who discussed, who shared with me. And he looked at himself as a partner in my health journey because he knew, just as well as I knew, that him doing all this blood work and giving me all these treatments was only a small part of the journey. I actually had to go home and do these things. And he knew that treating me like part of that, like treating me like a partner in my health and informing me of what's going on and letting me ask questions was going to help me adhere to these pretty ridiculous treatment protocols. And it all worked. Phenomenal. Although I will say, the first time I had a health crisis, I healed without a phenomenal doctor like that. So as they make things so much easier when you do find them, but you can still start to heal yourself without them. DJ65, also with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. Okay, you're in Canada and the doctors have no answers. And you are on your own to get through this. Crazy common. It's, one second. Okay, I do have to go here in about 5 minutes because I have a job interview and I'm super excited about it. Yeah, so ME/CFS, as hard as it is to get a diagnosis, there are more people in the US diagnosed with ME/CFS than there are those diagnosed with MS or multiple sclerosis. When I learned this fact, it blew my mind because everybody knows what MS is. Everybody knows what multiple sclerosis is. Everybody knows somebody, some distant family member or friend of a friend who has MS. And there's so much compassion for people with MS, and there's so much funding for research for people with MS. Like as a society, we've been educated on what MS is and how hard life is and how it's not their fault that they have it. And yet, ME/CFS can be much more debilitating, much faster than MS is. And more people, at least in the US, have ME/CFS. And yet it's still belittled and ridiculed and disbelieved and not funded for research and just not really even accepted as a real thing by many people in the medical community. And it's shocking and horrible and leads to so much distress in patients who are made to feel like they're crazy or they're just lazy or they're put on psychiatric medication when they really shouldn't be. I mean, the stories out there are horrendous. So I don't know. I guess that was more of a rant than anything because I don't know what to do about that. Except to say that there are people out there who do understand, who do believe, and who can help you, and to keep looking for those people. And just because of the sheer numbers, most of us will have to go through a lot of crappy doctors before we find really great ones. All right. Bye, Jim. Take care. Oh, thanks, guys, for the well wishes on the job. Thanks, DJ65. That feels really good. Yeah. Yeah. But here's the good thing. There are people like me, and there are others like me who have been able to heal without the support of the standard medical establishment. We haven't needed all this research to come out in order to have a better quality of life. Not everyone, there are people who get as well as I do, which is, I feel like I'm totally there, have my life back. And there are people who see only minor improvements, but any improvement in this disease means a big improvement in quality of life, okay? Because we tend to be so ill, small little improvements have profound impacts because we're working below the minimum threshold for living on our own, many of us, long-term are. So yeah, I guess today's theme is keep hunting for a great doctor until you find one. And if you guys have any questions around doctors, around where to find them or anything like that, like shoot me a message. I actually, in the description of this video, I went ahead and put my Facebook friends link. I haven't used it yet, but if you go to that link, you should be able to friend request me, and then we can directly message on YouTube. So if you guys have any private questions you don't want to put in the video comments, you can message me directly there. And I don't know, let's see, one more question. Okay, thanks for caring, DJ. I know, I get it. I believe you. I do. Danny gave up explaining to people what ME is. It's a silent illness, and unfortunately, lots of people have doubts about it. And part of acceptance is learning that not everyone's going to get it. I've lost many friends over the years because they didn't really understand what was happening with me. Because they only saw me when I was doing well enough to get out of the house. They only saw me on my good days. Hardly anybody saw me on my bad days. If you have someone in your life that's very important to you and is open-minded about learning what you're going through, I would recommend sitting down and watching the documentary Unrest with them, UNREST. It's available on Amazon Prime. I think you can go to Unrest documentary website, and they give you all the different places that it's available. Having someone watch what that's like is very, very eye-opening. People who have never lived with this, when they see it on film and they see it conveyed so well, so believably, it can help change minds. All right, so I'm online next on, I think it's Tuesday. I schedule all these in advance, but it doesn't seem like they actually send out notifications in advance. I'm going live Tuesday, July 30th at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, EST. So in the UK, I don't know if that's 11:15 or 12:15 or 1:15 in the morning. It'll be late, but it's next Tuesday. Pretty much the same time next Tuesday. Well, good. I want to give you hope because you should have hope. Hope is so critical. Yeah. All right, you can't see. Maybe I have to end. Maybe not until I end the live stream. Can you see the description with the chat, with the link, with the chat link in there? I don't know how to say it. Friends link. But I gotta run. It's great talking to you guys. I love this dialogue and conversation. And I would say, if you ever want to do anything to help me return the favor, it would be to help me get the word out about this channel. If you have your favorite video, in particular, if you would share it in groups about living with these conditions, that'd be great. If you emailed it to a friend in need who could use one of my videos, that would be amazing. And yeah, that would be one thing that you guys could do if you want to give a little back, because I'm not great at marketing this channel yet. All right. Okay. Sending you all love and health. I'm Kristin. Bye. Take care. See you next week.